Hello, everyone. I'm Rebecca Weber. This is your Amac podcast, Better for America. And if you haven't yet done so, go ahead and hit that subscribe button so that you never miss another BFA episode. Now, today we have a real friend of Amac, a friend of America and conservatives everywhere. With us now is Sean Spicer. And Sean is a superstar in the world of communications, is one of the most recognized former Trump administration officials, a naval commander, a seasoned policy and political voice who has spent decades in Republican politics and knows Washington inside and out. He has served with Congress in the Bush 41 administration, at the RNC as a top presidential advisor, and was Donald Trump's White House press secretary. Seldom do we have a guest with us with more depth, with courage, and conviction as Sean Spicer. These days, he is a best-selling author, also has his own show on Newsmax, is a strategic consultant, and is active helping in a wide array of meaningful causes on issues from veterans and the goodness of adoption to cancer research and treatment. Please welcome a true friend, Sean Spicer. Sean, thank you for being with me today.
It's a pleasure. Thanks for having me.
Well, thank you, Sean. Anyone talking with you is hard pressed to know where to begin because you have done so much and seen and contributed to so much to the public good. I do want to jump to some of the concerns that our Amex 2.4 million members have. Today, we're facing an economy that's really under siege, higher inflation from federal overspending and Biden's real damage to the U.S. energy sector. We're seeing runaway federal debt toppling 30 trillion and higher taxes and interest rates. So the formula seems to be the anti-Trump agenda instead of trusting the private sector, like cutting taxes and spurring growth. And we're in the grips of an administration doing the exact reverse, really institutionalizing uh, things across the country, and really that's creating federal drag and control over the economy. How do you see these issues? How do you see the state of our economy? And is there hope?
Well, yeah, there's a ton of hope. We've got an election coming up in November, but I will say this, that, having been, you mentioned some of my bio, I've been in Republican politics. I did my first paid campaign in 1994. And it's important that you have effective groups like AMAC out there that can mobilize members and tell them, here's what's going on, here's what your voice and your vote are doing to make a difference. The alternative, as you guys know more than anyone, the ARP does a great job of giving people very one-sided set of information and trying to mobilize a group of seniors that are the most reliable group of voters. I worked for 6 years at the RNC as communications director and then chief strategist, and these are the voters that get out there, come
Right.
hell or high water. And so I think belonging to a group like AMAC and understanding those issues and being able to communicate it to your friends, your neighbors, your coworkers, your family is crucial. And so, what gives me hope is knowing that despite how bad everything is, from gas prices to, bare shelves to what's going on in Ukraine, that we are 5 seats away from taking back the House of Representatives. And I think we have a fairly decent shot of taking back the Senate, which would be a huge check on this administration. And at least from a budgetary standpoint, Congress still has the purse strings. So I think we have seen in what is it now? So we're in April, so 15 months, not even. The president was inaugurated January 20th. So we're less than 15 months. And think about what's happened in terms of how much change we have seen both internationally and domestically. I think the key for people is to understand that votes matter, politicians matter, policies matter, and we have an opportunity to right the ship, if you will, in November, and go out there and do it. And look, if you are happy with the way things are, then God bless you. I hope you get the help you
Good
need.
point.
But
Yeah.
hopefully you come to your senses and realize that things are not going well. Again, whether it's economically or just watching the safety and security of the threat that I think we face at our southern border. And so I hope people get out there and not just mobilize themselves to get out and vote, but get others to do it as well. because I really truly worry about the future of the country.
We all should be. We all should be concerned, and we've gotta take a stand, and a big part of that is gonna be who shows up and how do you vote at the polls. It is so important. So I thank you so much because each one of us can make a small difference, and, we see that here at AMAC. 2.4 million members do make a huge difference. It gives us a voice and people wanna listen. The more members we have, the more we can do. Sean, I wanna turn to an area that you know more about than almost anyone, and that's the idea of communications, public communication, by a president and his team, and communicating with average Americans who count on that team to deliver the truth. Now, we have seen so many slips and misstatements. We've seen bungled communication efforts, right up to including the recent statements by Biden that he made in Poland, and these have devastating effects. I mean, they seem to be provoking, not de-escalating. A war. Is this president one who is really slipping and a vice president who seems to be underqualified? Or is there something really more serious afoot? Are there competence, cogency, issues going on here? I know that you were a vigorous defender of what Trump thought, and you were invariably crisp and sharp. But that is certainly not the case of this White House or of Jen Psaki. Does this worry you? And do you see that we've got a communication side of the White House that is breaking down?
Well, there's a lot to unpack there. I mean, yeah,
Yeah.
I am worried about our foreign policy and how we're executing. I mean, the intelligence has been horribly wrong. I mean, it's funny. Bill Gates, or Bob Gates, apologies, Bob Gates, who had served multiple presidents, said that Joe Biden has been on the wrong side of every major foreign policy issue for 4 decades. And here we are again, faced with this issue in Ukraine, and frankly, it's been nothing short of bungled from the get go. Just in the last couple of days, we've decided to sanction Vladimir Putin's two daughters, and I'm sitting here thinking to myself, we're 40 something days into a crisis. It's been well documented and well known that he's been hiding money and funds in his among his family, right? And
Mm.
40 something days in, they kind of go, you know what, we're going to go after the daughters. I'm going, where was this the first 40 days when you said you were going to get tough? It defies logic. We spent what, a week talking about helping them to transfer MiG-29s, planes that the Poles had, that the Ukrainians fly, and then the Secretary of State said they quote greenlit the option, and then John Kirby, the Pentagon spokesman, comes out and demonstrably falsely claims that the Ukrainians don't fly those planes, which is not true. I mean, like they keep, this has been bungled from the get go. And yeah, I mean, then you have the vice president going out eating word salads every day.
Yeah.
That it's just it's just an
It
embarrassment. And I don't know. I look around going, holy smokes, like, it's not exactly giving a ton of comfort to folks.
That's it too. And many have seen Biden's most recent embarrassment at the White House with former President Obama. You actually shared a video on Instagram, and I'd love to go ahead and share that video for those that are watching. But as you see this White House president and vice president, what do you assess? Is Joe Biden that unpopular that his own, I mean, people there that are to be with him cared so little about him that they turned his back? I mean, literally ignored him. And you almost can't help but feel sorry for the guy. Because he's clearly not, just doesn't garner the respect that one would think a sitting president would have in that kind of situation. Your thoughts on that?
I've been a staffer most of my life on Capitol Hill and campaigns, and
Yeah.
I watched that and I'm thinking, whoever came up with that idea, I get why they thought it made sense at the beginning. And I think it was, hey, we need something to distract, but it didn't take long to realize what a big mistake that was. I
Mm.
think initially somebody thought that this was, hey, I have a great idea. This is gonna, and literally within, I think, a matter of hours after watching that video, I have a feeling somebody walked by their office and said, "Hey, genius." That didn't go over too well, because you're right.
Yeah.
Everybody kept saying, "Wow, look at how popular Obama is." how everyone wants to be around him, and no one wants to be with our current president. So that's yeah, that was
Yeah, it was
interesting.
real obvious. It was just, sort of cringeworthy too, the way he introduced, "Hi, I'm Joe Biden," Obama's VP and, Jill Biden's, husband. It was just odd, it just didn't fit. Thank you, Sean. I appreciate your perspective there. I wanna speak on some of the issues. I mean, we see here, in the US wide open borders. We're hearing federal mandates and progressive left who really insists on ruling their way, and if you don't go along with their way, then they want to ruin the good things about America. And conservative voices are being suppressed. Americans are concerned that their basic rights, like freedom of speech, are under threat. Um, how important are these issues, Sean? And why should we all stay focused on them and care? What are the stakes here? Because so many people, say, this happens all the time, or it'll go back, or, you're making something out of nothing. But I'm seeing things like I've never seen before. And I certainly recognize the suppression of conservative voices in America. Um, how big of an issue do you see this?
Um, I think it's a huge issue. And first of all, anybody who thinks it's going back, unfortunately, is sadly mistaken. I mean, the trend never slides back to the right. Sometimes we can ebb the tide, if you will, but that's just not going to
Right.
happen. So, for folks who ever think somehow the pendulum's going to swing back, it doesn't work that way. I think
Mhm.
sometimes we can slow it down or stop it, but you never look back and say, you know what, it all reverted back once people. It just doesn't happen that way. Um, I think that free speech is definitely under attack, and I think, I've written 3 books. The last one just came out, called um, "Radical Nation," which details all of this. In fact, I literally have a chapter called "Biden Inc.," which, in light of the news in the last, you know, 48, 72, 96 hours, about some of the stuff that's going on with Frank and James and Hunter Biden, is so apropos for what's happening. But it also deals with cancel culture and what's happening. And you know, the idea that we continue to see people on the right just shut out because their view is not in the mainstream of what the far left believes. We had on my show on Newsmax, we were talking to a host of a radio show whose co-host got fired because she tweeted out about the color of the vice president's pantsuit, and it was deemed racist. I mean, for no explanation. Somebody said
Wow.
it was racist because
Yeah.
they joked about the color. I mean, it literally was a joke that if you
Joke.
remember, she wore a brown pantsuit on the night of the State of the Union, and they said, "Ha ha ha! It looks like she works for UPS. What can Brown do for you?" And 30 days later, somebody resurrected the tweet and said, "That's not funny." Um, so um,
Yeah, it's a crazy world that we live in, it's hard to imagine that it was a different place just a short 2 years ago, We weren't dealing with all of the rhetoric that we're seeing and hearing now. No, I appreciate your feedback on that. Another major concern for our members really is crime. Of course, the southern border, I mentioned that, but there's this growing sense of domestic insecurity, and there are concerns about public safety, drug abuse, general welfare of the nation at home. But Trump, he stood for a secure border. He supported law enforcement, lower crime, and he really encouraged, or we saw a greater confidence in public safety. How do we get back there? How do we refocus the nation on a secure border and lower crime? Does it really come down to just getting people out that are just ruining America as we know it, and voting the right people in? Or are there things that we should be and could be doing now to, do something immediately? This is out of control, and we expect to see a surging border in the coming months.
so I think um, I think there's 2 things. One, to your point, you need to elect the right people who deem it a priority. Number two, the people who are elected need to continue to highlight it. I think Republicans did a decent job for a while of going down and highlighting what was happening at the border, and not just sort of the problem, but then kind of making sure people understood what that meant, i.e., the fentanyl, the crime. that every town is now a border
Human
town. I think
trafficking.
human trafficking, great point. And right, and so I think explaining to people in Ohio and in Virginia and New Hampshire, Montana, that these problems at the border affect their community, and most of them get it. I mean, you go talk to a mother who has children right now, and they understand that those drugs, that fentanyl, is not just getting grown in Bozeman on Montana; it's actually coming up from the border. So they get it. But what Republicans have to do is just keep this heat up in particular. And I was pleased to see um, um, I was pleased to see that five Senate Democrats, Manchin from West Virginia, Maggie Hassan from New Hampshire. You had Mark Kelly and Kirsten Sinema from Arizona. I think there's one more. I'm just trying to remember who it was. All joined with Republicans to about this Title 42, this health emergency being lifted at the border. But it was because of the pressure that was put on it that really got these Democrats to join in. And it's okay, so there's one step.
Yeah.
But
And it's a
but
huge step.
right,
You
and
know,
so I think if we can keep that up, right, then that's what's going to matter. But I think part of this is, you can't take your foot off the pedal and off the gas pedal. You've got to keep it on, and just keep hammering that home, because where I think Democrats get away with this is that when there's not attention, and as much as the atrocities in Ukraine have well deserved the attention that they're getting, it's absolutely just horrific what has been going on there, and the loss of life and the destruction of
Mm,
property.
yeah,
What has also happened is that it's taken the focus off of the border, and
it
so
has.
that's one of the concerns that has happened. So anyway, I say all that because um, you know so anyway, my point is that people have to remember that these tricks that people and Republicans are taking, going down and bringing cameras down and highlighting these things, make a difference, and they get the attention that then so if they keep doing this, um it'll happen.
Keep
I
the
mean, we still have a
spotlight on.
right, we
That's
still have a
right.
president. We have a president of the United States that has spent over, what is it now, almost a third or something of his presidency at a Biden property, and has yet not made it to the border. And so I think there is a valid um there we need to keep that pressure up and say, why haven't you made it down there? What's going on? What's the problem?
Sean, 2022 may be the most important election in decades, since it will decide whether freedom or socialist impulses define the nation's future. But I'm interested in your prediction, not only for 2022, but also for 2024. Do you think that Donald Trump will again be a candidate for president? Do you think that he will be able to make the clear difference between what's happening now under the Biden White House and what the American people really want for 2024?
Look, I think everything that I've seen here out of former President Trump is that he intends to run again, but he is very
Very
clear
private
about.
about that.
Yeah, I mean, he gives hints. He likes people to be guessing, but ultimately, he until he says 100% yes and files those papers, we're not going to know. But I will tell you that I think from what I've seen, he has leaned into wanting to run again, and I think the policies that he promoted his first term, he clearly wants to get back and going. He wants to right a lot of the wrongs that the Biden administration has implemented policy wise. So I think that he's gonna do this again. Um, he clearly leads all candidates.
He
But
sure does.
it's look, I think that it's just, obviously still a year out.
Mm.
He has a huge war chest, huge support among the base of the Republican Party. I think at some point, he's done it now. He knows what it's like. He's got to make a personal decision in terms of, like, do I want to dedicate my time not just to another run campaign wise, but then another 4 years. And I just, that's something that you just never know
You
personally.
never
Like, is
know.
that, but if I, like I said, if I had to guess today, I would say that, I that he's definitely leaning in that direction, and that if I had to put money on it, I would put that he was running yes.
Yeah. If all things stay the same, you've got to think of all things, and you never know how things can change over time. Right now, I know our members, they voted him our man of the year. They think that he would be the right man for the job, and so we'll just have to wait and see how things unfold. But it has been an absolute incredible honor to have you with us, and I know how precious your time is, Sean. I want to thank you for joining us, and we would love to have you back again in the future. You've done so much, you've contributed so much for America, and so I want to thank you for being here.
You bet. And anyone who has an interest, every night we're on Newsmax at 6 o'clock on the East Coast,
Thank you.
3 o'clock
And
on
your
the West.
book.
So, yep, Leading
Yeah.
America. Oh no, sorry, that was the second book, Radical Nation. But anyway, never thought I'd write three. Never mind. So but anyway, I appreciate all the support and everything. All that information is at SeanSpicer.com.
Well, that's great. We're going to put that right up here so folks can get at it. And your book, we certainly encourage people to go ahead and get their hands on a copy of that. Again, for all that you've done, thank you. Congratulations on both your book and your television program. I love tuning in. You're great. America needs more people like you. And I want to thank everyone else out there listening. To you, thank you. Our AMAC members, thank you for tuning in today. And if you haven't downloaded the AMAC News app, go ahead and do that. You get great original breaking news right there on your phone. And you can watch this show as well right there through the AMAC News app. Please make sure to hit that subscribe button, like, follow, and share wherever you are on social media. Until next time, I'm Rebecca Weber. This is your podcast, Better for America. Thank you for being here. God bless you, and have a great day, everyone.
You're listening to the Better for America podcast, presented by Amac, the Association of Mature American Citizens. To learn more about Amac and all it has to offer, visit us at www.amac.us.